So one of the other issues I deal with as a designer when putting a package together is how is it going to print? How is the consumer going to get this at home and have it in their hands and go, wow, this really pops. There's a lot of ways we can print it. This is just, you can go traditional printing, 4-color process, which everything you buy in a store is printed like most likely. I do this sometimes for some of Joe's packages. We'll print an extra special ink. And what that means is we're pulling PMS, Pantone Matching System inks, and from these cool chips, and I match them to what I want for the art. And some of this, the orange is inspired by Joe's orange guitar. and the violet on here needed to be a nice pop as well. So the magenta is actually the type. We picked an orange and a purple in these colors here. These are my rejects in the bottom. These are the types of things you go through and figure out. But these will be printed as solid ink, which means no dots, no other colors make up that color. All of it turned out really super hyper colorful, and the palette of the purples and the oranges and the hot pinks just really went together. When this is printed, it should pop in your hand, and it'll be a gorgeous piece of art for your wall or your record collection when you're listening to it.
I love the colors that he picked, and the balance between minimal approach to the iconic, vision of the guitars and how they work into, the shapes and parts of the elephants. And because we had talked about how, are they real elephants? Or Martian elephants have, 4 tusks or whatever, 2 tails, who knows what they have. But we thought, no, it doesn't really matter because everyone knows it's kind of funny. And so let's just come up with a striking image.
So one other detail that I really had fun with on the inside of on the LP, you'll notice, the savvy fans will notice, that on the labels themselves, I did not put side, did I put side A, B? Oh, I did, I kind of hid it. But I hid it, that's the thing I did. And the art that is the major part of the LP are the elephants. So side 1 has 1 elephant, side 2 has 2 elephants, side 3 and side 4. I kept the 1, 2, 3, 4 because, well, that made more sense rather than A, B, C, D, which is a little more traditional, but it's kind of more fun to name them 1, 2, 3, 4 with the elephants. Let's talk a little bit about the photo shoot, or lack thereof. This was during the pandemic. We were talking about how do we put together a shoot. Like, if you're not going to be on the cover, we're going to need pictures for you for press. I'll need some images of you for the inside of the album. How do we go about getting those images? And I thought, Joe lives up north of San Fran area, I'm down here in LA, and I was thinking, what are the weirdest places I've driven to between here and there that are outdoors that we can do a cool photo shoot? And I thought Lake Mono was one of the most beautiful places, freaky salt pillars and whatnot, and that were natural. And actually, Joe was kind of up for it. And the discussion went a little bit more like, well, let's not have that big of a production. Let's not get out and, it's still COVID time. What we ended up doing in solving that problem was, I have a lot of shoots for Joe. I have about 5 or 6 of them. So in Lake Mono, I can grab stock photography and purchase it. So essentially parts of this is purchased art. So this is really Lake Mono. All the mountains that were behind it were removed in the photograph. This is another stock photo that comes in the sky that's been warped around and worked by me. And we used some of the natural foreground of Lake Mono. I had an idea, I just wanted to put Joe Tiny as a silhouette. So I grabbed another image from him that's just kind of nondescript to any other album and decided to put a little space helmet on him because Joe just can't be hanging out in the middle of Mars without any protection. So that's how this one kind of came together, this composition. And the other illustration that's in the packaging is done similar. This is the main illustration. The secondary one, over here, is Joe on the mountain, Tiny in the background. But this is all Lake Mono as well. Composed, this is about 4 photographs. This one's about 3 photographs composed. And then similarly, this one of Joe, God love him for putting that cool ass backpack on. He ended up doing some photos in studio with a very talented portrait photographer.
The hard part was, what do we do about the photo session? As I was trying to consult my doctor about what kind of protocols I should take if I'm going to do an all-day photo session. My doctor says, I've been doing a lot of photography lately, and my old apartment is now a photo studio, and it's the cleanest place on earth right now. So we could come on in, 1 hour, in and out, we're all triple vaxxed, we'll get it done. And that's what we did. And and of course, there's always something funny that goes along. Now, Eduardo is an amazing photographer, really talented photographer. And he's taking some serious shots. He knows this is serious business, that the press needs certain kinds of photos, color, black and white, with guitar, without guitar. But then he goes, hey, what do you think about putting that backpack on? And he points to the side of the room, and there's this really weird looking orange backpack.
I was like, where did you get that spacey looking backpack?
And of course we look at it like, oh yeah, we got to put that on. That's like, it's just too funny, right? And the whole thing about, he knows it's the elephants of Mars, and it's like, no, I'm not going to wear a space suit, but maybe there's a joke there, And he knew about the coloring because I had sent him Todd's, first few passes at the artwork. So he took a couple of pictures of me. Of course, you can see me laughing in the photographs. But of course, when Todd saw them, he said, oh, we definitely got to use that. So, once again, just really being open-minded as everyone on the team is throwing ideas back and forth, really creates this fantastic energy in a project, and it elevates the final product.
We made this really cool front cover. We had to have a really cool illustration to Joe to match. So hence that picture on the inside. This came after that was created, where if we had the elephants, we had to have Joe, and pretty much in scale if you actually open it up. I don't know. Maybe Joe's about half the height of one of those little elephants. I look at these details, this is really what keeps me up at night. I really do love this little illustration of Joe, keeping the helmet on him as well. I actually gave him moon boots here, which he just loved wearing moon boots. The beautiful part of this, and I don't know if anybody will ever get this, but John, this is one of my favorite parts. There is no guitar in this shot. That's because it's all here. So it's literally subtracted from Joe to create the elephants. I mean, it makes total conceptual sense, right? That particular elephant was made of as a guitar, and they are the sound on the planet. So there you have it.